So, how do you go big in your Power BI career? How do you get the success you want and deserve? The answer is simple: don't do what I did. In this episode, we'll talk about avoiding what I did the wrong way, doing what these folks are doing the right way, and we'll end with a story about ice axes. Welcome to the Power On Show, where we talk Power BI and beyond, sometimes way beyond. But our goal is always to help you create a successful Power BI career and a life of freedom. I'm your host, Avi Singh. Part 1: The Wrong Way. I was laid off a few months before my daughter was about to be born. It was supposed to be a happy period. I'd been so busy when my son was born, I'd pretty much missed out on his younger years. But this was my chance to redeem myself, to do things differently, to do them right, to really be around my daughter in her younger years. Well, it didn't quite turn out that way. When I was laid off, I took it hard, almost fell into a deep depression. It felt like I had not just lost my job, but I had lost my identity, my sense of self worth. I hadn't even realized that over the years I had built my identity around what I did. Everywhere I went, that's how I introduced myself. Hello, I'm Avi. I'm a business analyst at so and so company. And that was me. And when I lost that, I found myself staring in the mirror and asking, who am I? Who the fuck am I? I didn't have a clue. You can say that everything turned out okay. I landed a job at Microsoft, certainly a top company to work for, a dream company to work for, especially for a middle class boy from the dusty streets of India. But it didn't turn out okay. When I got to Microsoft, I bored myself into work. I was hell bent in future proofing myself against layoffs. The last layoff had been so painful, I never wanted to be laid off again. So I worked. I worked hard. Long hours, late nights, away from family. My newborn daughter, I was supposed to spend time with, that didn't quite happen. It took me many years to lift my head up and realize my foolishness. For one, you can never future proof yourself against layoffs. Layoffs are like an axe falling in corporate America. If you're caught on the wrong side of that axe, you're gone. No matter how good you are, no matter how hard you worked. But more than that, I'd been foolish to always be riding in the backseat of my career. I never had control over which direction my career went. Reorg happened. Oh, we're going this way. My boss changed. Oh, we're going that way. Now, once in a while, I would step out of a car and get into another one when I changed jobs. And yes, it felt a more exciting, more shiny car. But once that excitement wore off, I realized I was still in the backseat with little control over my career. My only lesson to you is don't do what I did. Don't spend your life, your career in the backseat. There is a way, to, in fact, to grab the steering wheel of your career and life. But you need to learn that lesson from these people. Part 2, the right way. Meet Greg Berg, who focuses on serving the specialty coffee industry with Power BI. Greg has gotten to know the industry quite well. He knows the challenges involved. In fact, he's been working shoulder to shoulder with the leaders in the specialty coffee industry to help them sort out challenging problems, all the way from supply chain disruptions to losing customers or big contracts, staffing turnover, on time delivery, and a lot more. Now, I love listening to Greg when he speaks about sometimes arcane things in the specialty coffee business. For example, the roasting process. And he speaks about how they built a Power BI report to help. The roasting process, as I've learned from Greg, is at the heart of any specialty coffee company. But the roasters are dealing with a lot. Often, systems are paper based and not very efficient. They're trying to collect last minute orders, match them with the supply on hand, try to reduce the number of batches to optimize operations, the gas use. Doing all of this while always trying to create the best flavor possible. But now, a Power BI report helps them streamline the whole process, thanks to Greg Baird. Meet Andrew Ali, who uses Power BI to help faith-based nonprofits. He helps them to increase donations, manage costs, and re-engage their communities. Every dollar that he helps the nonprofits save or raise from their donors goes towards changing a new life. Andrew understands the challenges that face modern-day nonprofits: complex operations, increased financial regulations, donors demanding more transparency, and a need to connect with your audience on social media. And he is there to help them by leveraging Power BI and using it as a glue to bring everyone together, aligned under the same big mission of that nonprofit. And there are many more. There's Ian Bowman, who helps construction companies keep a close watch on their daily job profitability metrics. There's Raul Jimenez, who helps warehouses understand the slow-moving items and fast-moving ones. Tom Richards, who helps plumbing and HVAC companies. Frank Van Delden, who helps healthcare finance. Charles Elwood, who focuses on IoT. Eamon Kelly, who helps finance teams with balance sheets, profit and loss statements, and more. Rakesh Suke, who helps customer service centers, and the list goes on and on. And all of them do it with the magic of Power BI. Do you see the common thread here? They've all focused on a niche, a specific business area, and built their brand around that. And that's what I had missed out on. That's the mistake that I had made. I never focused on a specific niche, and I never built a personal brand. Once, when I introduced myself as a business analyst at a party, the person responded, "Oh, well, Avi, the business analyst is like the potato of the industry. It can go in any dish, do anything, taste like anything. So why don't you tell me what you actually do?" Yep, that's who I was. The bland potato, the jack of all trades. And you know what they say about jack of all trades. Yep, master of none. So the way to put yourself in the driver's seat and grab the steering wheel of your life and career is simple. Define a specific business niche that you serve and build your brand around it. just like Greg Baird, Andrew Ali, Ian Bowman, Raul Jimenez, Frank Rakesh, and many others. But I have one more story for you, this story about ice axes. Part 3, Ice Axes. The year was 1938. Lloyd Alva Anderson and Mary Gertrude Anderson were avid mountaineers, but they had a problem, and it was about their ice axes. Now, an ice axe is a crucial piece of gear for any mountaineer, but they were having a hard time getting high quality ice axes at a reasonable price. So on June 23rd, 1938, they met with 5 of their friends and decided to create a cooperative with the goal to create ice axes which were affordable but of high quality. Now, each member just paid $1 to join the cooperative. The organization I'm talking about, of course, is Recreational Equipment Cooperative, REI. They are a $3 billion company and employ 15,000 people worldwide. But they're not the only one with a story like this. Apple started by creating personal computer for the common man, and they did it out of a garage, targeting a very, very small market at the time, some can say non-existent market, where IBM was dominating the world of corporate computing. Even when Apple reinvented themselves, they went after a somewhat fringe niche market of MP3 players with their iPod. Google was just a search box. Amazon just sold books. Facebook was a small network just for Harvard students. Adidas created spiked shoes for track athletes. And REI? Well, they sold ice axes. All big stories started small. Now, does that mean that Greg, Charles, or Frank will be the Apple, Amazon, or Microsoft of tomorrow? Well, we don't know. And frankly, they don't care. They're happy right now. They're focused on serving their business niche and serving them well. They earn a good living and live a good life. They're able to spend more time with kids, their families, on themselves, their hobbies. They have created what we call a life of freedom, a life by design. They are sitting comfortably in the driver's seat and have a firm grip on the steering wheel of their career and life. You can do the same. Focus on serving a specific business niche and build your personal brand around it. That'll serve you well whether you take the consultant route or stay as an employee. Either way, you will be holding the steering wheel of your career. Now let's recap what we have talked about today. The summary. First, you heard my story about being in the backseat of my career, being just driven around, reorg, job changes, layoffs. I was never really in control. Then you met some of our amazing members who are doing it right, who are firmly holding the steering wheel of their career and lives in their own hand. And the first step is to focus on a specific business niche and build your personal brand around that. And again, this strategy works equally well and is as required whether you're on the consultant or the employee path. And lastly, we heard the story of REI and some other companies and how all big stories start small. You can do that too. In future episodes, we'll go much deeper into how can you select the right business niche for you. We'll address The objections you might have, like, what if I pick the wrong niche? Or I don't want to limit myself. I don't want to turn opportunities away. We'll talk about all that and more. And once you select your niche, how do you go about building a powerful and magnetic personal brand around it? That's coming in the future episodes of our Power On Show. This is Avi Singh, your host. Carl Taladua is our executive editor. I'll see you next time. Until then, Power On. Still there? Want to know how I got into researching ice axes? Well, as some of you may know, I have been hiking for the past few years and have had set this crazy goal of hiking an elevation gain of 100,000 feet each year. And I've done that for the past 2 years, so that's been exciting. Now, one of the mountains I climbed in my hiking adventures here is Mount Eleanor. Now, Mount Eleanor is one of the highest rated hikes in all of Washington state. And when I looked at the hike and researched it online and looked at the photos, they just looked gorgeous. You're standing on this peak surrounded by snow-capped mountains, and it's just beautiful. By the way, it's in the Olympic National Park. Now, Mount Eleanor happens to be a bit of a drive from my place. But I made the plan. I drove out there. In fact, I spent the night in a close by campground. And in the morning, I hiked up. And it is one of the most beautiful hikes I've been on. But I was slightly disappointed because the view that I got wasn't the one that I'd seen in the photos. None of the snow-capped mountains were around me. And no surprise, because I had gone in late fall, I think August or September. Yeah, the snow was gone. So the view was beautiful, but not what I'd seen in the photo. So I came back and started researching that, hey, obviously I need to go again in probably winter or late spring so that I do catch that snow. But what it turns out is that it snows quite heavily on that mountain. So I'm going to need an ice axe. And not just that, I'll have to train myself how to use that ice axe. So folks, that adventure is for another day. And yeah, I'll probably update you on a future episode if I was able to get an ice axe, train myself, and climb Mount Eleanor and get that view promised in the photo. What we are going to do is we're going to put some photos of Mount Eleanor from my hike and the kind of the snow-capped view as well in the show notes. So make sure to check it out. Take care. Power on.